There we are. It worked.
Hey, y'all.
It's all that damn Barry Browning's fault. Getting on last
Barry.
minute.
He tried. He's here.
Barry.
That's the main thing.
Hey, everybody. How are y'all doing? Greg, check out. Look, I got a background. Greg, background.
Happy Mother's Day, y'all.
Can't be no more complaining. Happy Mother's Day. I'm sure. Well, we got 20 people watching, so I'm sure there's mothers watching. So happy Mother's Day. Anyway, how's everybody doing? Hope you had a great week and everything. Wow. Hey, before we get going on this show, let me say that the one with Kumbo from, what was that, last week? Was that last Thursday?
Oh, hold on.
The show with Kumbo and Greg was really good. Lot of information, and surprisingly,
3 hours.
I know.
I could have kept talking to them.
And the show before that with Blue Eyed Northern and Joe Parker, also really, really good. Gotten a lot of feedback on those last two. And if anybody missed those, you should go back and watch those. They were really impressive shows. Not because it's my show, but because the people and everything, just the amount of stuff that they covered, really good stuff. But anyway, so a lot of you know Barry, some of you don't. We will go ahead and bring Mr. Browning out, and we'll get this thing going. There he is.
Hey, Barry.
Mr. Browning.
Hello.
How you doing, brother?
I'm all right. How about y'all?
Good.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Where'd your
Anybody
dog
know?
go? Where'd your
He's right here.
It was in the background. Look at him. Pretty baby. How old is he now?
He'll be two July 27th. What you doing? What you doing?
What's his name, Barry? I forget.
Skillet. There's a story behind that, but you'd have to ask me to tell it. I would, but
Skeleton. So, Barry, for everybody that doesn't know you, which there's a handful of people that don't, I'm sure. Somebody's going to watch this and say, "Who the hell is Barry Browning?" How did you get into the Bigfoot thing? Give us like a recap. How did this whole thing start for you?
I'd been interested since a kid. I don't remember seeing anything specific other than probably the In Search Of show. I don't, and was fascinated with it and kind of got back into it when I was actually lived in Alabama. I'd moved from Mississippi to there, but I heard the Sierra sounds one day, and I was hooked after that. If there's something that did it, it was the Sierra sounds. And that just, started listening. Lord, I don't even know how many years ago that was. That was back when you had 2 or 3 shows a week to listen to on Blog Talk Radio. But ended up getting kind of hooked up with Bigfoot Outlaws and did some things with them, learned a lot of things. Then just kind of, from there, made my way to Beat Sawdust. And the rest is, kind of boring history.
Well, but it's been a long, sordid history. You've been all over the place. You've been to all kinds of different areas looking for these things and hanging out with different people and everything. What was like the first thing you ever saw in real life, saw or heard that, kind of set you back and made you say, well, I guess they're real?
Probably it'd probably be the first camp out I ever went to, Bigfoot Outlaws. I got home and then started listening to some audio I'd recorded on my phone, actually. And we're sitting there talking, and you hear me say something, and then you hear just the prettiest whoop you've ever heard in your life. I mean, it was so good that everybody was like, "No, that was so and so making a call," and I'm like, "I'm telling you, nobody did a whoop call." I didn't hear it either, though. There's 20 people there, probably spread out over 30 yards, going from the vehicles to a bridge that was shut down, and nobody heard it. I don't know if the phone amplified it some. I'm assuming, but I don't know how it would amplify it that much to make a difference. You know, that was always something that stumped me. That was kind of the first thing that ever happened that right there at the beginning that was just didn't make any sense. It still doesn't. I mean,
You know, I can't tell you how many times though I've gone back and reviewed audio afterwards, and you hear stuff in the audio that you didn't hear while you were there in person. I mean, most of the time you catch it in person, but a lot of times, you know, there's stuff in there that you don't realize you're hearing. But I mean, maybe the microphones are more sensitive, or maybe you're talking to somebody and not really paying attention. I mean, it does happen.
right. It was just a loud, you know, that's why I said maybe it amplified it, because it was just so loud. It was just, I mean, louder than when I was talking right before it.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know, speaking loud, and we'll get to it here a little bit later, but you know, I've got a clip of the call you did at LBL, and man, I have told everybody for the past year and a half, 2 years since you did that, if you look at it on the spectrograph, your call is like, I'm not quite sure how a human did a call that well. I mean, it, like, you can see it clearly. It carries in the right frequencies and stays in the right bandwidth the whole time. And we got a immediate response back from it. And that was the night also, whenever we got finished calling and got back to camp, whenever we were all getting out, we had that sound like a damn dinosaur yell right behind camp. And we were all standing around. I was going, what was that? I mean, that was impressive. You did great on the calling.
I got lucky. I mean, I can do a decent call. I mean, I'm not saying I can't, but I just nailed it. I mean, I did. I turned around and I think I said nailed it right after, and just whispered it kind of to myself. And I think I was looking at somebody, but didn't, you know, that was the first time I'd ever got an immediate response like that. So,
yeah, well,
but
it was better than me. I sound like a bull elk with laryngitis that smokes too many cigarettes. I cannot do a decent call.
You know, I started calling with the Outlaws, and I just was good at it from the beginning. I had no idea why. I mean, I know I used to sing when I was younger in church. I still think I had my wind about me. So I think that helps a lot. It really does, because I mean, you've heard it, the call. I mean, you got to have some wind, you know, or you're gonna die at the end of it. But that's the only thing I could. Just that, and just, I mean, luck.
Hey, Greg House wants to know what part of Alabama you lived in.
I lived at first Rainbow City, then Hoover, then Rainbow City. Then I lived in Ringo, Georgia, and then back to Rainbow City. Over about 13 years, I think.
I don't even know where Rainbow City is.
It's right outside of Gadsden. It's right outside of Gadsden.
Oh, okay. And something else that a lot of people are aware of now is your participation in the 168 thing and capturing some of the stuff that you did down there. I wish we had a copy of that. It's too big of a video file to really email back and forth easily and everything. But I think it's been shown somewhere, hasn't it? The orb one
on Beast.
On Beast, yeah. I thought we showed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so people can go back.
It's the title. Just it doesn't say my name. but it just says it's orbs.
Yeah,
It's the only one with orbs with no name showing. So
that's the only. Yeah, I never. That's the only time I've ever seen recorded evidence of possible orbs that look like orbs. I mean, you can see something swirling in there. You can see movement. It's not dust, at least I don't think. I mean, it looks impressive to me.
ain't no way it's dust, man. I'm just going.
Yeah.
Night after night, person after person saw that. There's 20 witnesses to that. Oh, multiple nights. And now I had never seen an orb before then. I don't think.
Yeah.
I can remember never seeing. I've had some crazy. What happened? But that was. It was weird. It was crazy, but it was in a way it was so tame compared to a lot of the normal stuff we do. It's just a light that just doesn't want you near it, but kind of wants to just hang back and kind of just watch you. Uh, the scariest part of it was probably them getting flare hits in the woods behind us while I'm sitting there filming the orb. But it worked great. Mark did a great job. Nooble, getting everybody together. To watch behind me. Because the last night he wasn't there, and I didn't have that, and I could tell it was a whole lot different ball game. It was a whole lot more stressful, but less organized and so forth.
I was getting ready to say Mark's really good at organizing this stuff. He really is. He puts all the people in positions that they're well suited for, and it just all comes together good. You're one of the few people that I've ever known personally that has seen both orbs and pretty much boogers in the same place. I mean, you had it all going on there.
Same day.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Like right at the same time. Did that, in your mind, does that make a correlation between the orbs and the boogers? Do you think they're undoubtedly connected?
I don't think. Now, Sheriff Corntassel, if you hear this, don't hate me for it. I don't know for sure if they're orbs or Bigfoot. I don't know. Cheryl probably does know. And I'll take his word on it honestly. But I don't know if they're actual Bigfoot, but there's got to be some relation, something.
Well, if Cheryl's the only other person I know of that has had the same stuff happen at the same time, same place. So I mean, you would naturally think that there has to be some kind of connection there. I just keep going back to, are the orbs Bigfoot? Is it Bigfoot in a different dimension or something, and then it turns into a physical Bigfoot? Or are the orbs something that's attracted to the same area as Bigfoot? Are they the same thing, or are they something different? I don't think anybody could answer that, but but you got to admit, I mean, it's freaky. You hear about them all the time. But I'd like to see one in person.
I got one on the trace. That's only the second time. Well, that week I recorded those. I don't remember, 3 or 4 nights. I think we got them, a few minutes every night. But I recorded one on the trace probably a few months back. Mark's got it. I actually sent it to him, I think, last weekend. But it's nothing. It's nothing compared to, the other was taken with night vision binoculars and so forth. I could zoom in and all that stuff. But it's a lot better. But it's definitely an orb. I mean, if it actually flew over. They have the little historical areas there. It flew over one of the areas. I thought it was a plane at first because I saw the light. I saw it going over, but then it got over to this part, and I'm still seeing it. And I just noticed all of a sudden, I'm like, it just stopped. And I looked up, and it was right there, and it was crazy. It was a lot different than the one in Florida. But the greatest thing about the Florida thing was having witnesses on both the orbs and the because I've seen them by myself, and you can only see them so many times by yourself till somebody's gonna get smart, you know what, and start, asking, is he really seeing him? And I guess I can understand it too, to an extent, but that was a blessing, and the blessing, to be with Carrie.
Yeah.
I think the whole community hurts since he's gone, but that's what, neither here nor there. I miss him though.
Oh, me too. I mean, that was a huge. No matter which way you cut it, whether you were a fan of Carrie or not, you cannot take away from what he tried to give, what he did give, and tried to present to the whole community. The amount of just people that he got on there and let them tell their stuff. I mean, if nothing else, that was, hugely monumental for the Bigfoot field. I mean, everybody knew what Bigfoot Odyssey was and who Carrie was. Have you ever laid physical eyes on a booger without like a thermal? Have you seen one with just your naked eyes?
I have, I think 3 times. The first one crossing the road, but I mean, self-admit, I can't say if it wasn't a booger, I don't know what it was, because it was running fast enough to where I couldn't even see the arms and legs going. I literally couldn't. When it came out of the road on the right side, it took me to about time when it came out of the wood line. I'm sorry, not the road. On the right side, it took me to about the wood line on the left side before I caught it with my eyes. But I think it was had already started across, and what it was, I had overran where I was supposed to turn at, and I just flipped my truck around. I mean, old country road. I mean, a little bit of a straightaway. I just spun the back end around, and bang! I mean, there it is, probably 60, 75 yards away, and it ran right past what I missed the turn for, which is this huge tree break. That tree probably 9 to 12 inches. So I mean, thick. It was probably one of the biggest ones I've ever seen. And that's why I missed. I was looking at that, staring at that as I went by, and I looked back over the left. Oh, I missed my turn. But I've seen at the same place that I filmed the orb at that I was talking about on the trace. I saw one chasing a deer. It was behind a double trunked tree that had been pulled out of the ground during a hurricane that came come through. So, I mean, it was behind the tree, so I didn't get to see it like I'd want to see it. But that one, this was so weird. It literally, like, I saw its head kind of cock my way, and when it just as soon as I just noticed it just looked at me. It's like the next step it took was going a 90, almost less than a 90-degree angle the other way. Never missed a beat, never, nothing, just bam. And I literally sat there for 10 or 15. I was so stunned and blown away by it. I didn't even get out of the darn truck and go up and look. I rode home and had to go back.
How big were they?
Ma'am?
How big were they? Could you tell the color?
It was a grayish color, and it was not big. It wasn't huge. I got the feeling it was either a young one, or if it's true that there are, who knows if it's true or not, if there's a shorter version of them that doesn't get as tall, I guess it could have been one of them, but probably about between 5 and 6 foot, I'm guessing, and deer came out, and right, it was on the other side of the tree, and it came, and then it was right behind it. But that day, I mean, the going across the road so fast was amazing. But when I went back and saw the angle that it cut at, and then remembering back on how it did it, and just so fluid. I mean, it was just you couldn't. I don't even know if AI. I mean, I guess you could AI at something like that, but use something to do that, but you don't expect to see an animal. I mean, or a human doing that. To be honest, I mean, not with any. I mean, he didn't running on 2 legs. 4-legged animal, of course. 2. I mean, he was running on 2, and I mean, literally, it was like see me and next step, other direction. Straight. Perpendicular to that trunk, away from directly away from me.
What about the hair? Was it long or short or? like its face, chest? I'm just curious because I mean,
I couldn't.
how they're all different colored and
It was like a mixture. Well, it was gray. It was. I didn't see the face. Hair probably 3 to 4 inches long. And I'm gonna be honest with you, nobody's ever asked me that. And I'm trying to think back, and I'm taking a stab in the dark at it. But the reason I do think that's what it was is because above that tree, from right here up on him was above the tree, or I guess it could have been her. I don't know, but you could see 3/4 to half of the head. It was just. It was probably less than a second. I don't know.
yeah.
But I honestly, I've been kind of lucky in a way because I've been the closest encounter I've had. I didn't even see it because we got growled at. And I just turned around and walked. We both turned around and walked immediately. But that was probably my closest encounter. Like I said, I remember the dark area. I could probably knew could tell you where it was at, but I wouldn't. When I felt that and then heard, it's like you feel it before you hear it, or before you notice that you're hearing it. And I mean, yeah, it's time to go.
There ain't no arguing with that.
No.
What would you consider that your scariest, creepiest moment?
No. Man. No, I've probably been LBL with the spirit box, and either that or the night that me and Debbie and Larry and Mark walked through far Indian Mounds in North Mississippi with a bunch of people making Bigfoot calls on the other end, because when they had made calls there before, they seemed like they were answering from the Indian Mounds. So we thought we were going to be right amongst them. I had to throw the diaper away that night. I mean, I literally had to sit down on the ground and just have it come to Jesus meeting with Barry. Like, it's too late. You cannot bet you. I mean, you got to go. And we did, and nothing happened. But for the whole time walking through there, I was so scared. But no, LBL, spirit box. I didn't realize they didn't like telling the story anymore, but I don't like this part of it. But we went out there and did a live. I mean, it's on Mark and Larry's channel. Did a live on it. Yep. At the kill site at LBL, supposed kill site, which we think that's where it is. And I ended up with a spirit box. I had a feeling I was going to when Larry told me I was going to as we left. And we get out there, and the first thing, me and John Garrison were there with it at first. And as it would spin around, it would stop on a different color. And I think that represented a channel, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know exactly, but first time, only time I'll ever mess with one. You can have them. I ain't got a need for it. I do not have a need to mess with that. But we would ask you, what color are you going to stop on? I forget how we were doing it, but we were getting it to try to predict itself, and it was doing it. But it would do it like 3 or 4 times, and then it didn't do it. So we were like, okay, it didn't. It was just, it was just circumstance, no big deal. But I ended up with it by myself, and I'm asking, all these little, everything that I had thought to ask of, which, took all of about 10 or 15 minutes. And I don't know why, but I asked him how my cousin died. And the next thing I heard out of it was shot. And he was shot. Tupelo, Mississippi.
That would freak anybody out.
I've told a lot of people this, but I don't think I've ever said it on a live before. But it was like the next question I would have asked it was in my head, but I'd never asked it, and that was how many times. And I could have swore that I heard 2 come out of it. And yeah, it was that night went completely just after that, because then I ended up with the FLIR looking at shadow figures in the woods.
Wow.
And it's hilarious because I'm asking Mark, you sure black's hot? He's like, yeah. No, white's hot? He's like, yeah, white's hot. And I asked him a second time, of course we're live, and the second time he's like, he's looking at me like, okay, operate the flare. You've operated it before. Third time I asked, he looks at me crazy, and I'm like, Mark, the only reason I'm asking is because I got something out there that's black, and black is supposed to be cold, and it's a human figure that's black, and it was behind a tree, went to my right behind another tree, but a little bit closer, and I didn't see it do this. I didn't see it move from tree to tree anytime. I just would pull them down, say something, Mark, pull them back up, and look. It looked like it melted into the ground behind the second tree. It's like it was a big oil slick behind the second tree, or mud. Just that's what it looked like. No, it looked like oil. It was the same color it was. And then the third tree, I picked it up again and looked, and it was back to a human-shaped form. I didn't see fingers, nothing like that. No, in fact, it didn't look like it had hands. To be honest, I've always, said it looked like if you see an old Gumby cartoon from way back when, it didn't. The arms were kind of cut off. He didn't have hands and fingers and all that stuff. They weren't that technical yet. But that's the way the arms were. That's the way I remember the arms being. And that was a messed up night. I catch a lot of flack from that. And I probably should. I should have.
Kane had an Oculus the night that we went out when we went to Daniel Boone, and I hated that stupid thing. He had it on his phone. And
I've heard about that. You said Kane. I didn't know who you said it first. You said, yeah, I've heard about the Oculus.
Oh man, it was saying all kinds of crap. I was like, okay, I'm done with that. You can turn that crap off.
Are we gonna die?
Yeah, it was a demon, and I forget what all it was like. But it was like it was putting stuff together, and he said, I've had this thing sitting at my house for 3 days before on, and it's never said a word. And it just was just going on with all kinds of crap. Yeah, I didn't like it. It was scary.
Other folk, spirit box aren't big. That's fine. They ain't a big deal to you, but I mean, I did not like it.
You put stuff in your head, it seems like, makes you start thinking about stuff.
I'll tell you, I relived the whole ordeal. It happened to him on the ride home. I'm not embarrassed. I mean, I cried like a baby on the way home. Didn't have a DAMN reason why I was in my head while I was crying, other than my cousin had died 10, 15, 20 years before then.
It was the energy of the place that you guys was at probably kind of attached to you a little bit.
Probably. But, I've told this to a lot of people lately. I can remember a time when I was, nothing ever going to happen. I don't never see nothing. And after the LBL thing, the orbs and the Bigfoot in Florida with 168 came right before the LBL. And after the LBL, I said, I'm retired for a couple months. I said, I'm not quitting. I said, but I'm definitely. I said, I got to process what I've been through, man. Because it just don't make no sense. But and I took a few months off. And I do that from time to time. I'll take some months off. I don't know. It's good to get away from it sometimes. It can get to be too much.
That's what scares me. I'm afraid if I actually see something that really terrifies me, I'm not going to get back out in the woods. And that's something that, we hike and camp and forage and mushroom hunt and all that. So, it would ruin me if I got to where I couldn't go back out.
Yeah.
That's why I don't want to see a damn dog man.
That's why you're
every time he'd say dog man, your reply, I was just sitting there shaking my head like, come on, man.
Nope.
You got to know about him. If you're going to look for Bigfoot, you're going to go to the same territory the Dogman are seen in. So why wouldn't you want to know about him?
That's right.
Barry Browning.
Huh?
I agree.
You can shut it, Barry Browning. Shut it.
Yes, sir.
I know. I know
about him. I'll show you that respect.
I know about him.
You don't listen to him.
I don't want to see one.
That's why you're going to see.
I ain't going to say that, but
we aggravate him about it all the time.
a lot of people don't. It's it's just a little too much. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
But I got some people that I trust that say they've seen them, so I have to
I know.
believe them. I
I
can't
know.
automatically just not believe them because I have seen it. But
Well, again, though, I mean, if you do know or believe that boogers exist, why wouldn't you be open minded about Dogman? I just don't want to let myself think about that too much, or I'll creep myself out with it. Something about a booger, I don't know why, but just like regular Bigfoot, as scary as that crap can be, like when you're out there and get stuff thrown at you and branches broken, everything. I mean, it does it freaks you out when it's happening. But there's a difference between that and a 8 foot tall werewolf looking thing. Yeah.
I mean,
But
I'm okay. As
They're
long as
both-
it doesn't mess with me.
they're both 8 or 9 foot tall. I mean,
I like dogs.
I don't too. I mean, I'd like to think I'm gonna have some kind of treat or something in my pocket or something.
Yeah.
I was just
I'm
talking,
negotiating my way out of it.
I was just talking to Mark Green the other day, and he had a witness, which it's not my story to tell, but there's one part that's funny. He had a witness that saw something crawling on all fours and thought it was a dog and said, "Here, poochie poochie," and then it stood up. Yeah, but that's a Mark Green story. So
I'll be looking.
Yeah.
I'll look forward to him telling that one.
yeah, do what?
I said I'll be looking forward to him telling that one.
Yeah, is Mark Green's channel? He covers so much stuff. I mean, he's really got a good show in the way that he talks about it and explains it and everything. And here lately, he's had a lot of activity, and it might just be an Alabama thing. Greg has had stuff going on off and on recently, and whatever. But it seems like an active time of the year right now in certain spots.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you think there's a certain pattern to like the timing and the locations and everything? You've already been, where all have you boogered at? I mean, Mississippi, Florida.
Alabama, Florida, Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia.
Yes.
Louisiana. I don't know if I've been to Louisiana. And I'm 30 minutes from Louisiana. That's weird now that I think about it. But, maybe not Louisiana. But
Which
yeah, the rest
was
of
your
them.
Where do you think was the most active area you've ever looked at?
LBL or I didn't do a whole lot of looking in Georgia. A couple of these states were 1 and 2 times you go, so you don't see or hear that much. But LBL or the whole state of Mississippi.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe Alabama's the same way. I mean, they're everywhere. I mean, I've got them on audio. I shouldn't have said that because now everybody's, why do they have it to play? I've got them on audio a mile outside the capital of Mississippi, outside of Jackson. I've seen them. I'm sorry, I saw them. That's the last time I saw one was about a mile north of, right off the trace.
Yeah, from everything I understand, the trace is just a hot spot in general. I mean, I've heard a bunch about it running through there, and what the big culvert things that they installed underneath them. Supposedly, there were a couple spots where it was very common to see them crossing right there.
Yeah. I mean, it's got a lot of farmland, around it, and of course you got that certain barrier on both sides of the road. For sometimes it's a pretty wide area, sometimes it's not, but there's just something about the mystique of it, I do. That's another place I really like is the Trace. Anywhere on the Trace. There's a lot of I've heard a lot of crazy things on the Trace. It's one of my favorite places to go to. I mean, if I'm going somewhere quick by myself, which is most of the time, but hard to find somebody to Bigfoot with. Somebody, that lives close, I guess.
Where'd you go in Oklahoma?
I haven't been to Oklahoma. I've been to Texas.
Oh, I thought
We
you
went
said
down close to the Big Thicket in Texas. No, I hadn't been to Oklahoma. That would have been great.
Did you go to Fouke whenever you were in Arkansas?
No. We went. Me and Vicky were talking about this last week. Crap. But we camp beside that lake up there. I cannot. We named the lady that has night crawlers named a dog that she rescued from there after that lake, and I cannot think of the name of the lake. But we can't. It's kind of southeast of Little Rock, I think. But I can't think of it. It was weird because after Vicky's surgery, we both talked. We talked about it because I asked her about it. And I think that's the only time I've ever been to Arkansas, and most of it's been in Mississippi, Tennessee. Mississippi, Tennessee, and Kentucky. A lot of Mississippi. But there's just so many, I've talked about it before. There's so many counties down here, 33, 35, 40,000 acres, population in the counties, 13,100.
Yeah.
It's just so much. There's so much forest land out there. It's crazy. I don't think people understand that. Some people that, just don't get out and see it.
Mark Green wants to know if you had much activity in Bama.
No, but I was really just kind of just, I don't even think I knew what I wanted to do with the subject yet. I just knew it fascinated me. I've never been the sci-fi person. I mean, I've never watched, people don't crucify me for this. I've never seen Star Trek or Star Wars all the way through. Couldn't make it. I'm out. It didn't interest me. But you put something mysterious out, mystery out there. Okay, I'm on it. Yeah, that's cool, and that's what it was to me. And then I have to say a lot of it was the Outlaw, the show, because they went from being an animal or a possible human hybrid from the Northwest to things that were right here in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, right? I mean, right down close, and that was a big. Once I realized they were that close, okay, then I really want to look into it. But
it's exciting, ain't it? When you get scared like that.
That's why I say I do it for the rush.
We're a bunch of weirdos.
You ain't never been more alive after something happening like that.
You ain't kidding.
I like it.
Your knees set and knock, and you're just absolutely terrified. I'm like, I'm going to shit myself. I know it, and it's like I love it. Hey,
Go back for more.
And we just take a left.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, everybody's literally being so scared, you think you're actually going to throw the hell up. I mean, you've been there. I mean, don't even know how you were moving. How was I don't even know how I moved away. It's crazy. But I'm not. People say people are brave. I'm not brave. I'm a thrill seeker. I like the rush. I don't think you got to be that brave to do that.
No, just crazy.
I was braver in the woods, right? Yeah, all of us are a little crazy. That's just the way it is. But
yeah, you got to do the stuff we do.
That before Bigfoot ever came along. So
I have coffee, Leanne. Leanne said, "There's Misty. Everybody's talking about me being asleep and quiet."
Me and Leanne have done a good bit of looking around lately in Mississippi. Some of those pictures that I was sending, before I started sending the videos that didn't come through, were some stuff that we ran up on in Mississippi. But she's getting, I ain't gonna say it like that. She's getting her feet wet. We'll put it that way. In the Bigfoot world, Because it's, it is. And I guess if you're somebody that's been doing it for a while, you don't want to carry somebody that gets the living shit scared out of them.
Right.
And
Not
just run them
anyways.
off. Yeah. And just run them off. I mean, and that can happen. I mean, I could go next week and get, turn around like some folks have, and they be right there 3 foot away from you. And I don't know what I'm going to do after that. We'll figure it out. But I'd like to say I'd still do it, but I don't know if you really know till it happens.
That's probably yeah.
There's some ugly. I mean, there's some intense looking creatures. I'll put it that way. They're scary, but
okay. Of all the ones that you saw, even though you didn't necessarily get the greatest look at them, were they all very similar? Like you hear some people talk about like the type 1s being like a patty type and having the more conical head and being a little bit bigger, and then you hear people talk about like the type 2 with a more rounded head, a little bit smaller and everything. Did all the ones that you saw, did they all look fairly similar?
Yeah, but I can't say that they were a particular type because it just happened so fast.
Yeah.
Well, I just sat there one. I'm like, how long do you got to see one before you're actually thinking, does it, going through that thought, that list in your head, does it have this? Does it not have that? And of course, like the time that I saw one, the gray one that behind the tree, I wasn't even Bigfooting then. I was just sitting and thinking. I wasn't Bigfooting at all. And then bam, it happened. Riding across the road. I mean, I was looking, but you just don't expect it. I guess if you're actually out in, when they happen, like when you're like Florida, when you're out in the actual woods, maybe you get a little bit more of a glimpse at it. But even that one, I don't think it was 25 feet away from us, but there was so much crap in between us and it. You could see the outline, but and I could see eyes, and I knew we were locked on each other, but I couldn't tell you a whole bunch else about it.
Right.
And, specifics. I mean, I wish I did have some kind of encounter where I could tell you a lot of specifics about. I mean, I'm not saying I want something just up live and in person and all that stuff, but a little closer and a little longer than I have seen them. People like Mark and his name escaped me. The one that asked the first question.
Greg.
No, Greg. I'm sorry, Greg. People like them, Crow Creek cryptids, like that. People that I know that, they live around them. That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah,
dude, that's a whole different thing than going through them now. I've had them around my house, near my house, I believe twice, because I think they whooped at me. But as the crow flies, a quarter to half a mile from the trace. So, if they wanted to come by, and I think if you held me down and put a gun to my head and said, "What do you think was going on?" I think it was something that I was trying to study in a certain area, and I think they came just to let me know they knew where, if I ever caused any problems, they knew where I was staying at. I mean, that sounds like we're human to say that, but I don't know what else it would have been, but twice I heard a whoop coming out the front door, walking to my truck 2 and 3 in the morning, different, months apart. And
yeah,
just hear it. And then, I stopped. Like, I literally just stopped and was just staring at the wood, a block or 2 away at the wood. It's like, no. And then you start looking at it on the map, and it's like, man, it would be so easy to get here. So,
but again, you hear people say all the time that they got followed home.
mm-hmm.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? And especially, not saying that I subscribe to this, but especially if the things do have some type of supernatural capability to them. I mean, you don't know what they can do or what they're capable of.
Right.
Just saying. I thought I saw. Hold on. I thought I saw another question. Huh?
I said that's another thing that worries me too. I mean, I'm in more of a rural area, but still, I've heard Kumbo and everybody talk about them, and I've got a big old field behind my house, and I hear some weird stuff, and I know I got coyotes and mountain lions and all that. We've even had bear come up like right down the road from us. Jim and Sherry had one at the end of their driveway. So
What was it?
very possible.
What kind of animal was it? Oh,
Bear.
okay. I thought you said a bear. I thought you said a bear.
But yeah, we've had a bear down here at the end of the road before, and they come right up, just little cubs, but
Yeah.
80, 100-pound.
They say we got them now in Mississippi again, but nobody sees them, but there's not enough of them. People get them on, backyard, or cams or something like that every now and then, but there's a few of them that are moseyed back in, but not many. But
Rick,
that's not, you don't know my pet peeve about Bigfoot is somebody telling you saw a bear. Especially if you ever, because here's the thing, I don't ever see a picture of a bear and go, oh, that's a Bigfoot. No, that's a bear. I'm sorry. I mean, it's pretty obvious with the rounded off ears and, everything else. But I like to, honestly, you tell me I saw a bear, every animal, and you're a friend of mine, every animal you mention the rest of your life, I'm going to say, no, it's probably a bear. They get the point real quick. About the second time you do it, they'll, okay, I understand. It's like, somebody that you could have, they would have trusted you with the biggest information, or would have, you could have told something to and known for years, and then but they just, after a while, you just really you can't get that aggravated at it because they just can't I guess they just can't wrap their damn brain around it.
Well, even if a bear stands up on its back feet, if you look at the body shape of it, it is nothing compared to the way people describe what a Sasquatch looks like, because they're literally shaped like a barrel when they stand up. I mean, they got a big old gut, smaller at the top, and, fuller down at the hips as their belly goes out. So, I mean, that's kind of hard for me to believe.
And they don't try to hide, really. I mean, a lot of the time, like a big,
they run away.
Do what?
Like Greg wants to know if you felt like whenever you were having the encounters, if you had an overload of your senses. And I would also ask, you ever get the creepy feels, like just like the hair standing up on you, like you can tell something's there, almost like static electricity?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people know that have been around. I just call them feelings. I don't know. I know sometimes I'm not, I've been researching for it. I know we're not supposed to be here, and I wouldn't get out. I wouldn't get out of the vehicle.
I think some people are more sensitive to it than others. I think some people have a higher ability to sense the stuff, or, almost bordering on like a empathy type thing where you can just really truly feel whatever that is, the force of something else's intention, its level of emotion or anxiety or whatnot. I think some people just naturally have a higher sensitivity to it, and they can tell. And then there are others of us that are jackasses, and we're blind and we can't tell anything until stuff gets thrown at us.
Yeah, and it's probably something that you can develop. Not that you're purposely developing it, but over time, I could see being able to feel things a little bit better. Maybe, I don't know. With them.
You got to have an open mind about it too, and you know that as well as I do, Barry. And Spencer didn't for a long time, and he's starting to come around. So he may start getting to where he picks up on a little bit of stuff. You know how it is. If you don't want to believe it, you're not going to be open to it. So,
right. I was at the beginning, and I kept trying to go back to it. Just the flesh and blood, nothing crazy happens. It's all our imagination or whatever. I can't never end up there because crazy crap happens. I mean, it just doesn't seem like it should be, possible for them to do. Their reaction time, when we think to our, muscle reaction time, theirs is so much freaking faster than ours. I don't even think sometimes I don't even know if we can comprehend it. But, I know the one in Florida, when I went to look at the other researcher, and I was maybe my eyes were cutting to him, and my brain was already going, don't look away, don't look away. But I had just looked away, and I looked immediately back, never made it over to him to look at him, and it was already gone. And I just yelled it hit the ground, because that's honestly what I thought it did. I mean, I thought it just went to, to a spider basically, or on all fours. But I think I'd have seen it if it was on all fours. But that quick, it was gone. We can't think of that fast. That's what doesn't make any sense to me about them. But I mean, if it is true and they are half human, I don't know if that's supposed to exist. Really, I don't know. Or there's been so much. You're gonna go down some more rabbit holes. There's been so much hidden from us in history that, I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe they are supposed to be here. I don't know. Maybe they were guys. I don't know. I find it hard to believe, though.
Yeah, for sure. There's too much weird stuff goes on, regardless of what's causing it. Why are they here 1 minute and gone, and you can't pick them up on the thermal? It's very strange. Is it animals? Is it what? I mean,
they say it's a lot of people say it's vibration. I kind of tend to wonder if that's not it.
That's what I think too.
And maybe that, I was thinking of that earlier when we were talking about when we're talking about the orbs. Were they the same thing? I mean, maybe the orb is them in a different vibration, puts them in a different dimension. I don't know, or something to that effect. And I mean, what other thing can you think of that is looked at for this long and we still don't know? I think that, people say there's no such thing as Bigfoot expert. Oh yeah, there is. They work for the United States government, but I guarantee they's an expert. I guarantee you there's somebody that's an expert, knows everything about
that's something else I wonder. Do you think, and this is not what I believe, y'all. So, I mean, I'm just throwing theories out there. I like to get people's answers on everything. Is it something from the government? Is, them and Dogman or whatever? Are they cooked up by the government and put out as weapons, or maybe just to do it? I mean, who knows?
I don't know if originally, they could always been taken and genetically altered, and who knows, you hear, different stories, that revolve around that. I mean, I guess it's possible, but they've been here for too long. How far did I go? You can take it back. I think there was a guy with the Vatican that was he was over in the Americas. I think it was in the 900s or somewhere, and I may have that wrong because he wasn't across the. Don't quote me on that as I think about what I said. But who's the guy? There was a guy that has a painting of him in the Vatican that was painted in like 800, wasn't it? I don't know. There's a painting of them in I think it's in the Vatican, but it's got a bunch of people like on a hillside and coming down the, standing in different places. And then under the hill, there is a cavern, and there are two hairy creatures in the cavern. And that is in the Vatican somewhere. I saw that somewhere. And I guess I should have wrote a lot more of it down in my head, but I didn't. But they just they just go so far back. I mean, now they could have been, I think, they very well could have been created back then now. I mean, depending on your beliefs, I mean, I would tend to say they were something created rather than I would say they were Nephilim, honestly. But I don't know. So that's just taking a stab in the dark.
Nobody does.
Yeah. Oh yeah, somebody does, and they'll let us.
Well,
when it benefits them,
not us.
No, they exist.
That's right. Yeah.
That's one of the best explanations I've heard, though. Somewhere there is an expert that works for the government. Mm-hmm. I believe that. I don't see how they would not have at some point obtained one of these things to study it, but that's just fine.
Well, you hear people say they have aliens and everything that they've studied on, in Area 51 or whatever. But I hear a lot of people say, I don't know if you've heard about them, Barry, but I'm sure you have, the DUMBs, the
deep
underground bunkers. Yeah. Well, that's where they say they keep a lot of this stuff, is places like that, and like study them and research and experiment, whatever else they do.
if you look at, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm
No,
bad
no,
about
no,
it.
no.
If you're looking at a lot of them domes, a lot of those things they didn't build them. They existed when they were found and didn't reutilize.
Yep.
And that gets into a whole nother
Yeah.
thing in history with the underground cities and so forth that are spread throughout. I mean, the whole world, but definitely in America.
But just like that, I mean, when you start looking at one thing, you're right down the rabbit hole on something else, because it seems like everything that people think has some tie or connection in some way to pretty much the same stuff. Regardless of how you look at it, they've got to travel somehow, whether it be through portals or underground cave systems or whatever.
But there's old newspaper articles about. I mean, I know. If nobody knows, there's a guy out there named Analog. It's his channel name. It's the beginning of his channel name. I think you can pull it up by that. But he goes back and researches old newspaper articles from Library of Congress and actually in the states themselves and so forth. But I mean, I've heard him read about a mile long cavern that was found in Arkansas. Just some out. I mean, the cities that are out in Arizona, New Mexico area, that there were actual underground cities that we don't even know about. We know about a couple of them. I mean, you take the Grand Canyon. In the 40s, there was a plane that crashed, and you used to fly over the Grand Canyon until two planes collided over it. And in the background of the pictures of the wreckage, you could see freaking pyramids and stuff. That's when, and then after that, that's where no fly zone came from, because they just never thought anybody would crash over it.
I see. I've heard there's domes there too.
They're everywhere. I mean, I ain't saying they didn't build any of them, but a lot of them have been there. And I heard what Kumbo said last week, and I think I know him good enough to know he wouldn't have stated that like you did if he didn't have a pretty good idea.
Yeah, well,
about the two ones in LBL.
All I can think of is how many times in the past couple years I've heard people describe metal on metal kind of grinding sound, and they describe it. And we have a pretty good auditorial memory. Like you can, a lot of times you can picture in your head what that sound is. You don't have to necessarily see it. If somebody walks into your house and closes the door, when you hear it, you know that it's a door being closed. Well, several people have described this as like a big heavy metal door opening and closing. And I don't know, but the dumbs thing, you would think, kind of goes along with that. I know we're getting way out in left field and in conspiracy land to try to put all this stuff together, but I'm just saying, logically, there's been quite a few people that have described the heavy metal kind of door sound, and then the next thing you know, we're talking about, hey, there might be deep underground military facilities there. If the shoe fits.
What's
go ahead, Miss.
Sorry, Barry. The military base that's right there. I can't think of the name of it right now, but they say that, yes, they say that is where they keep a lot of stuff like that, like the Dogman and the Sasquatch. I'm sorry, Barry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. I don't even remember what I was going to say.
Just.
But I was trying to figure out what military base in my head it was. But it's gone now. But who knows? They may do it. I'll go back to who was it? Reagan's. What did it? I forget what position he held. Well, I think he's head of the CIA. Said back when, supposedly they were supposed to disband after the Cold War. The Cold War's over. When there's jobs going to be over, it'll be over when everything the American system believes is a lie. And I believe wholeheartedly that man was telling the truth.
Probably.
We're lied to about everything.
Yeah.
Then, and here I'm gonna get on a soapbox for a second if I can. There's a couple people out there going to die when I say this, but I point this out to everybody. Conspiracy theorists. They're the people that don't think that bullet that hit Kennedy, when it passed through Kennedy into that other person, didn't change course in the air without hitting anything. So the conspiracy theorists are actually the people that are scientifically based. But it's been flipped around, and we're the crazy ones. Remember that now. This conspiracy theorists from the Kennedy assassination are the ones that don't believe the report the government put out. But their report says that bullet changed course in the air, in the middle of the air between two people without hitting anything, which is, we know, is probably physically impossible. But they can't say we're crazy.
I used to get told all the time I was a conspiracy theorist by my mom, my husband, and everybody. And now they're starting to realize, well, 10, 15 years down the road, this crap that I was telling them was going to happen. You know, they've seen a lot of it. And I'm like, told you. They can only hide stuff for so long.
Mm-hmm. That has always been a fact that's got under my skin when I hear people say that word. It's like, I don't even think you understand the definition of it. The conspiracy theorists are the ones who are scientifically based in when that word was originated, they were the ones that were scientifically based in their opinion on what happened when he was maybe assassinated, supposed to assassinated. I believe he was. But anyway, so we're the, but they've, it's been flipped through history to make it look like the side that just thinks all the crazy stuff. But originally it was the scientific side. But that's just a pet peeve. I don't hate the word. I hate when it's used in a derogatory way. And it's very easy to use and throw out there. And, you can throw it out there on somebody and it kind of just pins them against the wall from the get-go.
Yeah.
Oh, they're crazy. Okay. People are trained to think that way. Oh, okay, they're crazy.
It's an instant hit on their credibility as soon as it's said. And that's but that's how these things are used. They're used to discredit the source so that people will take that source less seriously, like right off the get-go. There are certain key phrases like that if you put that out there, if you called somebody a pervert and you said it, well, if you did, but if you said it not jokingly, everybody's going to stop and be like, what's going on with that? Why do you say that? Is there something behind that? But anyway, and on the conspiracy level thing, they can say whatever they want, but just like they had to start, not really coming clean, but they had to at least address the UFO situation because it was getting out of hand real quick with a lot of these pilots and veterans coming out and saying, hey, I got stuff on my phone. They had to come out and address it. I think that eventually you will see the same thing with boogers. I mean, eventually they're going to have to come out and address some portion of it. We're way more on the internet now, having the advantage of the internet and all the YouTube shows and people getting together and being able to compare notes. I mean, people from across the country going, I found this up here. And then someone over here in Texas saying, I found the same thing. We're putting stuff together. It's slowly but surely. And eventually, it'll reach a group consensus where they have to admit partially to some amount of it. And plus, the whole subject is being it has a lot less stigma to it now than it did before all the television shows, because the television shows, one thing that they did do was they showed how many people were interested in the topic without making them look like necessarily nut jobs, but it showed that there was a large interest to it. And now you have a lot of people that are perfectly okay saying, I don't know if Bigfoot exists or not. They used to would be just a flat no, Bigfoot doesn't exist. Now there's a whole lot of people that are at least open-minded to the subject. So again, the more that goes away, the more that this subject will breathe and the real information will get out there more and more. That's why I try to have all these people like you and everybody else on here, is because I know for a fact that a lot of the, these people that I know, there ain't a doubt in my mind that they're telling the truth about their stuff. And I want more people to have access to the people like y'all that actually go out and find the real deal information stuff and then just put it out there. Okay, this is what we're finding. We don't know exactly what it is or how it adds up. We don't know the key to just go out and find these things necessarily, but we've learned a lot, especially in the past like 10, 12 years. We've learned a lot, and we're progressing at an accelerated rate in the subject. But I do think we have to start approaching it more open-mindedly and a little bit change up the tactics some, because if we keep doing what's been going on for the past 50, 60 years, we're going to get the same results. So we need to implement more stuff, and we need to listen to more people and be a little bit more open-minded about it.
Right. The only thing I would say to that, though, on the UFO thing, all right. Now, I don't watch the news. I don't watch TV. I watch a little football, and that's about it on TV. Luis Alonso, whatever his last, Alonso, I can't say it. Don't know it either way. But, I mean, so a guy, huh?
Nothing.
Oh. But anyway, anybody that's worked with that organization and retired with them their whole life, do you really think flipped on them and they just gonna let walk down the street? Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I mean, the dude from Blink 182. Come on. They're not even believable to me. But everybody gets in line. Okay, you're still believing the same basic organization that's been lying to us all this time, knowing they did that, but acting like they're not going to do it anymore. Why? I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, I don't think that they're not telling us the truth about anything about UFOs. I don't think. I mean, they're going to tell us what they want us to know. I mean,
speaking of which, man, I'm glad you threw that comment up. Misty, take over. I got to go check brisket. It's time to wrap. I'll be back in a minute.
And here comes your barbecue part of the show.
Yeah. I forgot he was cooking. I don't know. It's just like that though, what you were saying about the UFOs and stuff, about them finally having to come out and, admit to it. There's so many more people that's out looking and doing this right now. And they've got so much more equipment. People are trying new things, doing different stuff. And there's stuff getting caught, evidence, good evidence. People are starting to figure stuff out. They can't hide it forever. I mean, it's going to eventually come out. And then everybody that thought, oh, well, that's just a bunch of bull crap. Well, that's what a lot of people said about the UFOs and things too. So, I mean, if they're real, why not Bigfoot or Dogman or Mothman or whatever? I mean, you can't discredit what somebody says until you know for sure that they're lying about it.
Right. True. Very true.
Greg said, cool knowing what they don't want you to know, ain't it?
Which is everything. Yeah, it is. But yeah, I mean, if they can't keep it from some of us, we're dumb enough to go find out or live amongst them.
Yeah,
I love listening to Greg though. He's great. I've had a good time listening to him on Beast and y'all show and everywhere else.
I'm glad we finally got you to come on. Spencer's all the time bragging about your call and just going out and Bigfoot and doing the stuff that you do, and I'm excited to actually hear it. That somebody just had to bring.
It's embarrassing because they say that, and it's like, dear God, it's not that damn. I mean, it puts pressure. It does put pressure on you. And let me tell you what this happened in Florida. We went out the first night, me, Mark, and the rest of the group. Everybody was there, and it was Barry do a call everywhere we went. I think I did 9. I didn't get so much as a coyote answer.
Oh,
they're about 5. I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, please don't make me. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go again. And we would do it, and so there's time. I mean, it doesn't. There's a time I was riding. I very seldom do them by myself, but one night I was coming back down the trace, probably 1 or 2 in the morning, and I had just done one a mile down the road, and I pulled into this little historical place, and it was just a hole there, and just where it shouldn't have been, but it was grass all the way. You couldn't see it because it had grass literally growing, all in it. I mean, I guess it'd been there forever. But next thing I know, I got my truck sitting like this, and it's 2-wheel drive. I got my pull tire sitting off the ground. It's 2:00 in the morning. I just did Bigfoot calls a mile down the road. I'm like, dear God, thank you for my dog. Who the hell can I call and talk to today? Because I knew that on Max and Trace, there's not any law from 10. It's either 10 to 6 or from midnight till 6. If nobody's gonna stop, they'd be stupid to stop. I'd be wondering what they were up to if they stopped. And I called a friend of mine, and I talked, what are you gonna do? I said, I'm gonna hook this pull rope to my truck, and I'm gonna sit here, and as soon as daylight hits, the first redneck that rides by is gonna stop. And that's exactly what happened. I said, as soon as they can tell, I'm really stuck, and I already got a chain, pull rope put to it, somebody will stop. I hung up with him, and I think 15 minutes later, God pulled me out. But yeah, that was kind of although I don't think they've known we're around me at all, but it was weird just sitting there waiting, like,
Yeah. But, you always know some redneck in a 4-wheel drive is going to stop and help.
Oh yeah. Yep. Thank God for redneck.
No kidding.
And that sleeping thing right there, but he's caught on too. He's deaf. I don't know if I said that at the beginning of the show.
Did you bring him to LBL?
Yeah.
When you first got him?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was.
Yeah, and he was. He was bad. He was bad. He stole a chicken from Robin Griffith.
He stole a knife.
Stole a knife and ran through the camp holding the handle. They said, just like in a movie, holding the handle by the knife. He was the killer. And I'm like, wow, y'all down there that. And yeah. See, and I had to come back and know that he got on everybody's nerves, but I got him as an older puppy. He was resold after he was bought to stud. He was picking a litter, and then they found out he was deaf. Figured out he was deaf. So I got him. He was 6.5 months old. I had him for 3 months, I think, and I had him on a leash, and he went to his lead, and everybody just kept saying, just let him run. I'm like, I don't know if y'all really want him to run, but when they finally talked me into it, the rest is history. I mean, that's and that was the thing I did see with the chicken. Now he come running out her tent, her with something in her hand, and I think she probably didn't throw it at him because I was standing right there, but I'd have thrown it for her. With a damn whole cooked chicken in his mouth. Oh, he loves some chickens. Let me tell you, Yardbird is his favorite. But yes, So
he kept running down there to us, and me and my sister and my daughter wallered him to death every time he come down there.
I didn't even realize that you were there.
Yeah, it was so cold. We didn't get away from the fire that we had built much. And the first night we didn't make it to the campfire because me and my sister came in late, and my youngest daughter. So it was about 1 o'clock, I guess, when we got there.
Yeah, I think I got there the next morning, I think. But yeah, it was a lot of people. It was kind of spread out. So, and I wasn't there the first night either. So if you weren't there the first night, you might not have seen some people, But and last week, we went to LBL with me last weekend, and that was kind of I think he showed a lot of improvement. Thank God. But yeah, he's grown up a lot. He's catching on to the booger. And I didn't know how to train a dog very well, much less train one to booger. So I just take him everywhere I go. We'll go from tree structure to tree structure a lot of times, and I'm just hoping he catches, picks up on it. But
how does he respond? Does he do anything to show he's sensing something, or
he'll whimper? When the first time at LBL, he locked onto something looking down a hillside, and I looked, and I could not see anything that he should be barking at. And I always wondered what that was. But the other night, I didn't carry him out when everybody went out at night and did calls and stuff because they came a heck of a long ways to enjoy LBL, and I didn't, just in case, I didn't want him to spoil anything. So I stayed at camp. I think I may have been closer to him than anybody because that campsite Mark was at. I mean, when I first got there, I walked up the hillside. I said, "Man, the whole darn hill is nothing but a blind." It was just tree after tree after tree after tree. You know, either broke over or look. And that's another thing I've been noticing: the amount of trees that the roots have come up on and are out of the ground. But yet there'll be your bigger trees that you think would have deeper roots, so they should be stabilized better in the ground. And if you walk behind one of them tree balls and see how good a high place it is. I don't know if they're. I wonder if they're not doing it. I can't say they are, but it's just something that I wondered about. I seem to see a lot of that in the same areas that I see other signs. But there's a lot of other people probably would know about that better than I do. So, but it's just something I've noticed.
We've got your audio pulled up here, and this is a little bit tricky because I'm gonna hit play and then try to see where it's at because I don't want this part to be heard by everybody. But for everybody, I don't know. Can y'all see the mouse pointer? Can you see the mouse pointer on the screen?
I can.
You can? Well, anyway, on the left-hand side
mouse,
here.
I mean, I can move mine to drag it or whatever, but you can't see it when you put it up there, no.
On the left-hand side, see the 3 dark, heavy marks? That's Barry's call. And if you were to see a lot of people's calls, they are nowhere near as clean and straight as this. And it's just a really impressive call that he did on this one that a couple of us were recording on. And then right after where you see the gray stripes going up and down, that's because we started to talk. We were all going, wow, that was a really good call. Well, as soon as we opened our mouths, there is a call right in here. And you will, if you listen real carefully, you can actually hear Bama, who was standing beside me. You can hear Bama say that came from the pond, which was very close to us, only a couple hundred yards away. And then you hear an ow. Then you hear another booger call over here at the very end. And this booger call was from a different direction. So he got 2 of them to sound off almost immediately after he finished this call. And I really wish I could play his call for everybody so that you could see how quick the response was. But that ain't my thing to share. So I'm going to try to get it. It's probably somewhere right in here. That is the very end of Barry's call. That is. Right here is the first booger. Here we go. Let's do that one more time now that I know where the... So again, this is the very end of Barry's call, and you have to listen. You have to listen kind of hard right there whenever, as soon as we start making noise, there's a very faint one. Bama says it's at the pond. And then the long one at the end is, in my experience, that is 100% a booger. But, I mean, you can get a spectrograph and be a judge for yourself. But here we go one more time. Let me scoot it up a little bit there. Give the game away.
I like that.
Those dang owls.
Hmm.
I don't know if you could hear that very first call that came back. It's hard to hear.
It's
And
fine.
I don't know if you
But-
could hear Bama say it's at the pond.
Mm-hmm.
The last one you can definitely hear pretty clear. And if you had been there in person, we heard it real clear. Real clear. The audio, it just, whenever you play it back, it does not do it justice.
Yeah,
But
that's-
right after something like that happens, y'all, you ain't never felt the way you feel that right after that. At least I don't. I mean,
Right.
you can't help it, Ren. You look at whoever's closest to you, and you're just like, "Did you hear that?"
And we all say that and we can't help it. Did you hear
I
that?
know.
Yeah, we all heard it.
oh, yeah. I tell you, but one of the funniest things I ever got on audio was Mark coming over to me going, "Where's Barry?" Looking to make a call. And I just danced. I didn't think I thought he knew it was me. I was like, I don't know. I ain't seen him. He turns around and walks off. I got that on audio. That's great. But I don't know. It's a little embarrassing, you know.
That is correct. Yes.
When people talk about a call like that, I don't mind it. I really don't. But it puts the pressure on you when you actually go out there to do it. But it sounded better just then than I even remembered it sounded. To be honest with you.
If I could play the full thing for everybody, it's impressive. He did absolutely the best call by a human I've ever heard, and got an immediate response.
You know, when
practice that anywhere, you know.
When you said you being a singer, Sherry's the same way. Now she can carry a note, and when she does a call, it is so smooth. I mean, it really is, and I think that helps you guys out a lot. You know, being able to differentiate your tones and things.
I'll tell you who I think does one of the best calls I've heard is Shelly Reed.
Yes,
Shelly can do a call. Shelly can show up. I mean, there's been times where Shelly, I'll do a call at one stop, we'll get to know, she'll do hers, and she does hers. I'm like, crap, that made me look bad. You know, real bad. I gotta get my game. How am I gonna practice it? You know, but she does a great one. You know, Debbie does a good one.
Yep.
Yeah, Debbie does.
Larry does a good call. Larry gets a lot of responses.
Larry,
I don't know if the call means so much sometimes. I think sometimes you just throw something out there. It seems like the answer. I don't know why, but it probably does mean, you know.
Well, in all honesty, though, I've seen Shelly do variations, like just make it up on a whim, and she'll still get a response. And I can't help but think it's almost more like it's the tone, the energy of it, instead of having an exact method for calling. But
gets them curious.
And other odd noises will set them off too. I mean, Mark Green has talked about the drum bull. Apparently, Tal Bronco, Bill White talked about using the elk call. And everybody knows there's a handful of the actual vocal calls that we do, and they're different, and they probably, get a different response and everything depending on which call you're using.
Or
but the main,
yeah,
the standard one that we use, though, I don't think it's that call is so important. I think it's more like your tone and your volume. And just any kind of long, drawn-out howl sound, really loud in the right area, is liable to kick them off and get them going.
You hit on something. I think the length of, you know.
Yeah.
I actually kind of, because when I was taught it, you know, I was taught at certain, you know, how many seconds for this or that or the other. That's all I'll say about that. You know what I'm talking about. But,
you did a call.
I really listened. I mean, because I wanted to be able to call. I mean, I did. You know, it's something I literally wanted. You know, I hoped I was good at, but I had never done anything like. I had no idea. You know.
Yeah, but Barry, you did a call right before that one. Remember, and it wasn't like your voice cracked in the middle of it, and you kind of
And I was real embarrassed. Yes.
And you kind of stopped and nothing happened. We didn't get any kind of response. And then you blasted that last one.
Mm.
It was really loud and really clear. And we got an immediate response. I mean, within a second.
True.
So
I
who
forgot
knows?
that. Right. You know, I think a lot of times they're just not going to answer a lot of times. I think they still come closer to check it out and see what's going on. But, you know.
Well, that's like here in Virginia, I'm convinced that they don't answer vocally hardly ever. Like I've done calls here on my own and not getting anything. But like one time I did a really long, loud whoop. And I immediately got knock over here, reply knock over there, and either a tree break or a branch break or a tree getting pushed over. But again, it was a very loud, I was frustrated, a very loud, long whoop. And it was right at sunset, got an immediate response. So
it's fun. I mean, they're fun. It's done. You know, there's been a few times where I'll pull over, like either on the Bayou Pierre, which the Natchez Trace goes over south of here on the way to Natchez, but stop right there in the dead middle of the bridge, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and belt it out. You know, and it's the same thought every time. You belt it, and it's like, man, one of the things could climb up this bridge and get me before I had a chance to get back to the damn truck. But you know, you start thinking about that. But I don't have a FLIR, but I got one hell of a spotlight. You know, I'll put some light on something. But it's, you know, it's fun. You know, and y'all, we're not trying to be. I haven't said this a long time. We're not trying to be asses by not playing the call. That's a promise that we made to who taught us that call.
Yeah.
So, I don't really have a lot of association with the person anymore, but I mean, if I give you my word, I'm gonna keep my word. So
yes, it's
a
respect and integrity thing.
Yeah, and the whole reason it was anything said about it is because it was like, you know, a lot of times you'll hear talk about us and doing calls and saying, you know, how dumb are they going out in the middle of the woods and doing calls? And I finally exploded one day on somebody's Facebook page, and I said, how dumb are y'all to think we go out in the middle of the freaking woods and do it? We don't do that. We do that from the comfort of seeing our vehicle.
Standing
like we were taught,
beside it normally.
You're right. And like we were taught, pointed the way out.
With the keys in it, pointed the way out,
yes,
unlocked, ready to go.
I can't believe y'all actually think we walk out 3 miles in the damn woods and start calling like that. It's like, but
now, I have been with a couple people. I've been with Eric and Kane and Mark and Larry whenever we were out in the middle of Daniel Boone, and they have done calls from camp, just 1 or 2, to see what would happen. And I gotta tell you, the whole time, like, I'm on pins and needles. I'm like head jerking every which way because I'm like, I don't know how fast I can get back to any vehicle from there because it's about a mile through the swamps. But I'm gonna be the fastest thing in that woods very briefly. Till I run out of breath or fall down in the river.
Yeah, but I hadn't had the experience with Kane and Eric yet. I hope one day that I get the privilege of that. Because I'm ready to go tomorrow. Y'all ready to go tomorrow? Hey, we'll ride. I will put that little white Toyota pointed north, and we will go.
Till Kane pulls out the pendulum and starts saying stuff like, "Will one of us die tonight?" And he makes it go to the yes.
I got experience with shadow boxing and shadow biggers. I ain't worried about that.
You better be glad you didn't make it to that trip because you would have been all 2 pieces with the ones that we had there on the trip. We were doing all kinds of weird, crazy stuff. And me and Kane both being there and Rebecca Green all kind of wanting to get in on some weird stuff. There would have been pendulums and spirit boxes, which we did use that while we were there.
I'm glad you clarified what weird stuff was. That's all I got. I'm kidding.
Just no more Oculus. Or not Oculus, Ovulus.
I think Mark was the one that told me about that. I think, but Kane's a hoot. Of course, I'd heard about him, years before I met him. But him and Eric both. But they doing it though. Them guys doing it.
Oh yeah.
They were fun to be in the woods with for sure. I hate Eric was sick, or we'd have got to go out a whole lot more.
Oh, I didn't realize he was sick. But.
He had a bad sinus infection he was trying to deal with while they were there. Yeah.
Yeah. Not fun. But yeah, I hope to earn that privilege one day. I'm patient.
You got a trip planned out you're wanting to go to next? Certain
no, I'm kind of concentrating on Mississippi, man. There's I used to tell Carrie, I was like, man, why are we driving all the way 12 hours to Florida? You know how many Bigfoot we're gonna pass on the way there? They all over. They're all over Mississippi. I ain't saying I'll prove it, but there's well enough to handle right around here for the time being, and then go off with friends as we do. But I'm concentrate. Pretty much every if it says national forest or wildlife management area, yep. In Mississippi, but I think there's a lot more sightings here. It's just the way people are. They're not gonna tell nobody.
Yeah.
Ain't no way. There's just no way.
Yeah.
And it's very sparsely populated. Mississippi basically has the population of metropolitan Atlanta spread out over a whole state. So kind of, they're all at the north, the middle, or the south. And those areas in between there's 2 rivers in Mississippi, the Big Black and the Bayou Pierre. They come in the Mississippi River about 6 or 7 miles apart. And you go back up northeast on both of them, from the Mississippi River back all the way almost to Jackson. There's nothing, but woods, and it's like.
Let me ask you.
I just told everybody out there, if you're in Mississippi and you want to go get you some booger action, I just told you where to find it.
Look, I want to touch on that. So like up here where I am, it's all wooded and it's all mountainous, but the population is a lot larger. There are a lot of people out in the woods up here, but whenever I'm going out, I have certain areas that I know to go to and look around. But what you're talking about right there, where they could literally be anywhere in that state. They're all over that state. That state, Mississippi, is loaded. How do you narrow down like the areas that you're going out to look at? Are you looking for specific like land terrain features? Are you looking for certain water features? Are you going just based off of, supposed reports of encounters? What are you doing? How are you narrowing it down?
Yeah. And somebody that Kumbo's the field that, Big Dog T2B.
Yep.
That little survey that they got, which I'll probably list all my sightings with them, but they're not listed anywhere else, but I would like to list it with them. It's very detailed. But these things, if you don't want to see them, just don't be near any running water, you pretty good chance, or any water at all. But especially any rivers or creeks. Those are the first things I look for. If people can go back and listen to Bigfoot Outlaws, they'll teach you how to find them on the show, on the old shows. That's all I'm going to say about that.
That's how I got started.
That's how I learned how to find them. Literally, I learned from listening to them.
Yeah,
how to find them, and then you kind of pick up other stuff that you go along. If you can find, if you can get all the good tangibles and throw a chicken house or a Tyson processing plant in, or a dog food plant or something like that. Yep.
Dumpsters, trash cans, picnic areas. Yeah. Not to give too much of it away or anything. But where the creeks meet the river.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of it here is there's so many. The metropolitan areas have woods in them. You could go there's no telling how far you can go into. I don't know why you would want to go, but how far you can go into Jackson, just staying in the woods. And I think that's the way a lot of states like this that are sparsely populated are. We're probably more than anybody else, but there's places in the Jackson City limits if they just wanted to stay a night or two or a night, get to an area, hunker down until the next night, and then travel. It's very easy for them to do it. I mean, very, very easy for them to do it. I mean, it's all over. I'm right outside of Jackson and Clinton, but I mean, there's just, like I said, the Trace. You got the Pearl River. Pearl River that comes right through. There's just a lot of, and I don't think people understand how close these things are close. Close. They'll get right up on these. I'll get right up on these suburbs, and you don't understand how close they literally will be. It's mind blowing.
Joe Parker said something a couple weeks ago about a campground, and he brought up a subject that I had been thinking about, but I never put the words on it the way that he did, where he said he felt like some of them had almost been domesticated to the point where they were so used to coming into human populated areas, they just simply changed their strategy, and they were comfortable in these areas, being near human activity. Like he was talking about a campground with a picnic area where there would be a lot of food thrown away in the trash cans and everything. And I think it's a really good point. I think if you look at a lot of the reports over the past couple of years, you see more and more signs of them being more, brazen and coming into what we would think of as human occupied areas, and maybe even hanging out there a lot more than you would suspect, because they have easy access to get in and out of them, and the opportunity is there for food. So who knows? Right. I think it's probably right on that, though.
They're definitely opportunists. With the food. Yeah. So,
they get used to people too, I'm sure. As many people as what's out and trying to look for them and stuff anymore. It's just like a bear or anything. If they think they're being fed, they're going to keep coming in. And if somebody doesn't try to do anything to scare them off or hurt them, they're going to keep coming in. Get closer and closer to you.
They are. And they do, I think.
We're getting close to 2 hours. Barry, is there anything you want to talk about that we haven't covered yet, or anything specific you want to go into?
Or if anybody's got any questions.
Yeah, if anybody has any last stuff you want to ask Barry, put it up now.
I'm surprised anybody's still watching. Not for y'all. Not because of y'all, because of me.
Shoot.
We know what you meant. Hey, if anybody wants to email me and talk about whatever, there's the email. And if you know of people that would make good guests on the show or anything like that, send them my way. Let me talk to them and see what's up, because we're kind of getting to a point now where I've got to actually start searching for guests and everything. Unless you just want to see me and Misty and she can just bitch at me the whole time on the show. I guess that'd kind of be funny to some degree.
Be really funny to me and everybody that likes picking on you.
Probably. And okay, well, let me click on this. Anybody, any last comments? I don't know. Misty's supposed to be watching the live chat, but she doesn't do her at the time.
I did that. Hey, look here. I done told you 100 times. Sometimes I forget I'm supposed to be working here. I've had to get up and close my windows and open them and close them, and open them 100 times because it's raining.
Hey, Patrick's finally on here. Hey, buddy. All right. Well, you said that, Gene. Anyway,
hey, I will say this right quick, if I can. I started to and then I decided not to. Now I guess I will. I've got a small Facebook group, Bigfoot group, less than 25 members, but looking to grow that somewhat. But it's called Black River Cryptid Investigations. I named after the Big Black River, but because that's where I kind of cut my teeth, just getting out in truck and just walking and just figuring stuff out. But I've never tried to grow it really. I've never made it, it promoted it and so forth. But probably something we're going to be doing here in the near future. So if anybody wanted to join that, just feel free to do that. I mean, if anybody has anything that they want to talk about around Mississippi, Eastern Louisiana, Northeastern Louisiana, you can always email me. It's barrybrowning601@yahoo.com. But I hope to have some more things going here in the next few months. But right now, that's what I got at the moment. So,
well, if you have anything happen, let me know. We'll just throw you back up on here anytime you want to get on here, because I know you got a lot more stuff that we didn't really talk about or whatnot. But we can get you back on here for a part 2 anytime that you want, brother.
Oh, anytime, man. I love it. I don't ever ask nobody to be on. I just can't do that. I just don't feel comfortable in it. But you give me talking about it, I won't shut up. So, yeah, we can get 1 or 2 people to listen. Hey, we'll do it definitely.
All right. Well,
I enjoyed it.
Glad to finally get to talk to you. I've heard a lot about you being on campouts, but I mean, other than just meeting your dog, I don't think I even got to meet you while we were there.
Player.
Everybody remember the other channels that we like to support. Obviously Sawdust Beast, Beast of the Woods, Dixie Cryptid, Chris Reinhardt's Discover Sasquatch, Mark and Rebecca Green's Cedar Creek Bottoms Farmstead Life, and I'm sure there's 100 others that I'm forgetting right now, but you know who they are. We talk about them all the time. Whatever.
Al Conley and Cryptid Connections.
Yep.
Big Dog T2B is a good one too.
Yeah, Big Dog T2B is a good. I never mention them. I never think about it, but Jack is a good guy. He's got a good channel. He definitely does a whole lot of like what Barry was talking about with dialing in on the statistics of stuff, the specific details of the encounters, and he kind of like formulates these patterns. He shows a lot of pie graphs and stuff, breaking down like where they were seen at, what time of day, what time of year, all that kind of stuff. But it's a good channel to check out. He's got some really informative guests on his channel too. There's more people. There's more people out there and more shows out there. I just can't think of them off the top of my head. But
Bigfoot Lake.
Bigfoot Lake. I always forget Bigfoot Lake. They do a lot of stories, kind of like Dixie Cryptid does. A lot of what they do is they're retelling supposed encounter stories. But it's good to listen to. I mean, it fills in, a lot of. It gives you a lot of the information that regular people that aren't necessarily researchers or whatever you want to call us. I don't like that term, but I don't know what else to say. But the average person that just has an encounter, if you listen to enough of those, there's so many details that just happen over and over and over again. Anyway, all right. Well, that's all I got. Thanks for sticking with us for almost 2 hours, and thank you, Barry, for coming on and just wait backstage for a minute, and to everybody else.
Thank you.
And hang on, I do want to say, Spencer, right quick, everybody, please try to keep my husband and his family in your thoughts and prayers, if you don't mind. His dad actually just passed away this week, and so the whole family's dealing with a lot right now. So just good thoughts and vibes, if you don't mind. Just send them our way, because we could definitely use them. And y'all have a blessed and happy Mother's Day and good Sunday. And thanks, Barry, for coming on.
Thank y'all for having me.
See y'all.
Night, y'all. Bye.
Bye.